Hello fellow humans and welcome to the tech review of the Grille 15. Now I wouldn't recommend the Grille 15 at the moment. If it does get buffed in the future then I can recommend it again. However, unfortunately, with its nerf to the alpha damage, it kind of got it a bit bad. If we look at the stats here, we can ignore the tier 6 and the tier 7. They're horrible, and all you can do really is sit at the back of the map and camp. That's all you can do with them. Obviously, there's no armor on any of these. The tier 6 has a solid-ish gun for its tier, only 220 alpha damage though. Accuracy is just about fine. Very good accuracy for most of the line, except for this gun on the Balsig. Now the Balsig has two guns, 600 alpha damage, 460 alpha damage, and so does the Waffenträger. I would use the higher alpha damage gun on both, because the thing is, if you have a paper tank, the less you peek, the better. So while the accuracy on the 600 alpha damage gun is horrible, I would still prefer to use that one on the Balsig. And overall, it's a solid vehicle. The Grille is definitely not the best tank of this line. That goes to the WT. The WT is a lot more stealthy. It's not as accurate. Definitely has a lot better camo rating, as you can see right here. However, even after firing, you don't really have any camo. Here we go with an Ashorn, which is a vehicle that you pretty much have to camp with, and the rest of the line as well. Now, obviously, this is a vehicle that you will most likely hate. If you don't, then that's weird. Same with the Stura Emil. Now, I will not be playing the Stura Emil in this video because, I mean, there is nothing interesting about the vehicle. All you do is you sit in the back and you wait for something to run into your gun. And the same is true for this one. So, if you have 3 XP, skip the tier 6 and the tier 7. That's what I would just recommend because they play different to the tier 8 to the tier 10. And they also play absolutely horribly. So, this is about the average gameplay you can expect with this vehicle. This is where it works well, right? You have about enough accuracy to work it, and it'll do just about fine. Now, at this point, that's it. That's all you do with this tank. You sit at the back, and you wait for the enemy to run into you. Now, let's talk about a big camo rating. Like, I'm 260 meters away, which means they're not going to spot me. My camo rating doesn't matter. The enemy's view range is what should matter to you, right? Because if you're outside the enemy's view range, your camo doesn't matter anyway. So, if you really want to stay hidden, you're outside the enemy's view range. You don't even play with that, right? Because the thing is, camo rating is only effective when you're not being effective, right? When you're not firing. Then you have the camo rating, right? Because the second you fire, your camo rating is gone. And if you're in the enemy's view range, when you drop your camo rating because you fire, you just thrown it away completely. So, if you want to be effective from the back, sniping like this, you're outside of the enemy's view range, right? Camo's only useful when you're not being useful, right? Because you're just sitting at the back doing nothing. You can use it to traverse to another side of the map, you know, to avoid getting spotted for a bit longer. However, the second you want to re-enter the fight, the second you actually want to go for it, congratulations, your camo rating is gone. And in a tank like this, your hit points is as well. And this is another thing, right? You only stay at the back for as long as you have to. You don't stay there because you want to, you stay there because you have to in vehicles like this, because you have no armor. Now, with the Balsig, you also have no armor whatsoever. And if you're in a city match, in a city battle, which unfortunately do exist, and I don't really have a replay of it here, luckily, because most of the time it ends badly anyway. Yeah, you try to stay somewhat passive, you know, try to peek around the corner only when the enemy's not looking at you. Basically, you're a light tank that doesn't have any mobility, but has a better gun. So, only peek the enemy when the enemy can't see you. Get an unfair advantage. That is the most important tip, essentially, for Blitz. Get an unfair advantage. That's it. If you enter a fair fight, you've already done it wrong, right? You always want to enter a fight that is bad for the enemy, right? Let's say you're peeking around a house in a city. You want to have the alpha damage advantage. You want to have the armor advantage. You ideally want to have a side-scraping advantage. Like this, with the Balsig. I have essentially the distance advantage, right? I can sit back here. They can't see me. My camo rating doesn't matter back here. I'm too far back, right? I'm not even using a camo rating on this tank because, to me, it absolutely does not make a difference. Camo rating is useful when you're not. So, 350 meters, they're not going to spot me. Doesn't matter. So, stay outside the enemy's cap. If you truly want to play unspotted, if you truly want to play hidden, stay in a position like this that is effective, that you can get shots from, but you are not anywhere near the enemy's view range, right? because you don't know what consumables that guy has. You don't know what crew that guy has, right? So either you stay hidden or you risk it. And if you risk it, you gotta do it properly. You gotta commit to it. Right? You can't just sit at 200 meters and be like, oh my god, I'm sniping now. That doesn't work. You either go all the way back, and you do it properly, or you don't do it at all. Now at this point, again, I'm sitting up here because this position is extremely strong on this map. You also have the other hill on the other side. However, over there, you can be spotted a lot easier and it's a lot harder to retreat. So this side is definitely better if you want to sit up here. And now, at this point, I've gotten shots, right? I've done 2.3k damage. I haven't been seen once just because, not because of my camera rating, but because of the distance, right? In Blitz, it's about the distance. Obviously, the map to view range proportions in Blitz are a lot narrower than they are in World Tanks PC. In World Tanks PC, you have a map that can be 1.5 kilometers in diagonal, and you have 400 meters view range. Well, sometimes have 500. In Blitz, it's mostly 250 to some go over 300 even. So at tier 10, if you snipe at tier 10, ideally 300 to 350 meters, that's where you want to be at that range. In lower tiers, obviously, you can be a bit closer. Or if you're playing against a Russian tank, you can be a lot closer because they're blind, for the most part. But in Blitz, the view ranges are a lot closer than they are in World Tanks PC. So the same things don't really apply. You also don't have the maximum cutoff point of 445 meters. So ideally, just stay out of the enemy's view range. That's my advice for camouflage. That's the easiest way to do it, because otherwise you're just playing with percentages, and that's never good to take a gamble like that if you're in a vehicle like this. Now, obviously, here at this point, I'm gonna push because I have an advantage, right? I have full hit points. I don't have any armor, but I have full hit points. They can't one-shot me. I have the higher alpha damage. Now, yes, that Conway can have a Hesh gun, but he doesn't. He has 400 alpha damage. Which means if I peek this Conway and we can both fire at each other, I do higher damage. I have the unfair advantage, right? That's what you want to do. Now, with the Ballistic, you have extremely bad accuracy on the 600 alpha damage gun, which means you want to aim, right? You want to aim your shots properly. Reticle calibration could help on this tank. So this is definitely the best one out of the line. You know, you just have a very good combination of alpha damage, accuracy, and the tank drives around just fine. It's a Panzer IV hull. It has the mobility to get you where you want it to be. Now, this vehicle does have quite a big problem, though. It does have the 460 gun as well, but again, the less armor you have, the higher you want your alpha damage to be, because the less you have to peak. This is the problem of this vehicle. Right there. The breach, the thing at the back that the shell gets loaded into, has to go down or up when the gun goes the opposite direction, which means if you elevate your gun, the breach has to go down. If you depress your gun, the breach has to go up. That's why tanks can't have infinite gun depression, because you bump into the top of the turret. And ideally, in Blitz, it's actually better, because in real life, you have to have the gun flat to be able to reload. You can't reload in a lot of tanks. You can't reload the gun if the gun is depressed. You have to make it right again, and then you can reload. Now, the problem with this vehicle, obviously, you have gun depression over the rear and the side, and you have gun elevation over the front, which means if you shoot over the back of this vehicle, you can't elevate the gun because the breech is bumping into the engine compartment. So that's very weird and very clumsy about this vehicle. However, again, you saw it earlier. I go in, right? I can have an advantage there. They're not shooting at me, they're fighting my team. I can go in there, I have an unfair advantage. Boom. Beautiful. But now, when the enemy are 5 versus 3, I'm going to get out. I'm going to use the distance. I'm going to use the camera rating while I'm not spotted, right? And while I'm not firing to get out of there. At this point, look, 300 meters. 300 meters right there. He's not going to see me. He's never going to see me. Doesn't matter what my camera rating is, he's never going to see me. The bad shot there, I told him to run, but, you know, you want to have an unfair advantage, right? And the bad shot didn't have one. He was low HP. He's fighting a tank that has incredibly good armor. Why would you? And he has help as well. Now, at this point, 4.5k damage. That's quite nice, right? So, again, 2 versus 3. What is my unfair advantage in this situation? I have the hit points. I can one-shot them, right? That is my unfair advantage in this situation. That's the one I want to use as well. So, I'm going to try to get out of here, right? The MX has a clip, right? So, if that MX would get close to me and I would miss a shot, I'm screwed because he can cult me. That's his unfair advantage. So I never want to allow the enemy tank to use their advantage while always using mine. That's how you do. And obviously for that, you have to know all the tank's characteristics and all those kind of things, or at least have an indication of them, right? For example, it doesn't matter whether you know the MX-5120's front armor value. Just gotta know, okay, 5120, that armor, 3-shot clip, that damage, has only 6 degrees of gun depression, so we'll struggle. Let's have a look anyway at the consumables. For example, I wouldn't use reticle calibration because the grill's already so accurate that if you can't hit it with the regular accuracy on the grill, you should probably play something else. So I would definitely use the adrenaline to get the DPM up a bit more if you need it. Now, in terms of the provisions, standard as always, spore liner definitely very useful because then you get damaged less by HE. Ammo, again, very standard. Diagonal line is the best way to go, something like this. You could use a bit more HE. Now, here you have a choice, really. I'm using a vertex stabilizer because I like to play this thing a lot on the move. So I'm using that. But if you want to camp, which you probably should, you get 0.24 accuracy. And if you miss with that, then you're not doing very well. Now, the supercharger or the enhanced gun lane drive as well, it doesn't really matter which one you use. If you can pre-aim, if you know how fast your shell flies, and heat doesn't lose penetration over distance, so if you shoot premium ammo, it doesn't matter. So which one of these you use? I'd probably stick with a gun lane drive. And if you want to play this thing aggressive, you go stabilizer. If you want to camp, then you take the refined gun. These two are obviously very solid. You take that. Then improved assembly, obviously, because it has no armor. And defense system, because why not? And with the camo net and the improved optics, it's really up to you. I'd say 13 meters more view range or marginally more camouflage. Because the thing is, if you camp and you fire, a camo net's essentially useless anyway. So a camo net's only really useful when you're not trying to shoot and you're trying to stay hidden for a while. Because if you look at the firing while stationary, you have no camo. With a WT, you're very concealed if you're not being useful. And you have a gun that is extremely good for its tier. Now, the grill is not that much of a step up over it. It is taller, which means it's harder to hide, obviously. Which means, and at tier 10, the view ranges get even a bit better. So, you have a tank that is a lot harder to hide. So, we gotta play back even a bit further. And again, what I'm doing here, what I've been doing all these battles is, if I have to camp to get damage, I do it. But if I don't have to sit at the back, if I don't get any shots, I move forward and attack, right? Because sitting at the back of the map is only useful if you actually shoot someone, right? If you sit back here, if I'm here, and there is no one, the enemy is all in the city, I'm doing nothing, right? So you move all the way to where you get shots. It's that simple. At this point, 320 meters, he's not going to see me. Now, obviously, the Sheridan is a bit closer than that. Bushes don't work. Bushes don't work in Blitz, right? If you fire through a bush, that bush is useless, right? So a bush is only useful if you're not shooting, again. Just like your camo rating. Your camo rating is only useful when you're not shooting. This thing has like 2% camo rating. Which means if I'm 300 meters away, and the Sheridan has 330 meters view range, it doesn't matter. I'm getting spotted. So, be aware of that. That camo rating is only really useful in a situation where I'm not actually firing. And even then, if I'm moving around like that, the grill is very, very easily spotted. Right? Now with the turret, the camo net can help, right? Because if you're stationary, the camo net will activate, and you can move the turret around still, and the camo net stays activated. But if you want to shoot, stay at a distance, keep your distance. But at this point, I know we're winning, right? Why would I sit back there? Look, the other two tanksters, they're still sitting back there in the corner. They're not gonna get any more damage. I'm not either, if that happens. However, at this point again, the 100 can't one-shot me, right? I have a very accurate gun. I have very solid straight line mobility with this vehicle. It doesn't turn very well. However, it's very fast in a straight line. So I can just attack the C100. The other two tanksters, they're still sitting back there. They're not going to get any more damage. I will get more damage because I've played it correctly. That's what you want to do. Camp if you have to, attack when you can. That's how I would play these vehicles. Would I recommend them at the moment? No. I would not get this line at the moment. Given the nerfs to, especially the grill with its alpha damage. However, overall, it's a solid line, and as long as you stay hidden, as long as you play it right, and as long as you're good at the game, this is a line that can just about work.